And then in 2008, someone close to her was diagnosed with what used to be called Aspergers syndrome, now known as autism spectrum disorder. So Kim decided to do some reading about it.
Oh my God, this is the way I think.
She went online, found a test which measured Aspergers, and clicked through the items.
I'm good at social chit-chat. Disagree.
Staring into the screen, it suddenly dawned on Kim that she could have Aspergers. She grew up in the 60s, so no one had ever suggested that before. Now, Kim has kept her Asperger's private in her professional life, which is why we are not using her full name. But eventually, she did go to an Asperger's support group, and it was there that she heard about the experiment.
They were saying there are some research studies being done, and there's one currently at Beth Israel Deaconess. So I thought, well, this might be interesting.
That's when Kim met Dr. Lindsay Oberman. Oberman is a professor at Brown now, but when Kim met her, she was at Harvard researching how a procedure called TMS affects people with Asperger's.
So TMS stands for transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Basically, in TMS, you take this very fancy magnet, hold it to the scalp, and send pulses through the skull to get brain cells to activate in a different way. They typically change for a very short period of time, between 15 and 40 minutes. And Dr. Oberman wanted to see if TMS could change the way that people like Kim process language. And so before and after the experiment, Kim was given language assessments. In one, she was asked to watch video vignettes of people talking. She vividly remembers watching the first.
There was a guy sitting at a computer, and a woman walked up and said hi to him, and they exchanged pleasantries, and then he said, "Oh, John returned your DVDs." And she said, "Okay, great." And then he said, "You want to check them?" And she said, "Oh, okay." So she picks up the first DVD and opens it, and the camera shows that there's nothing in there. And then she closes it and puts it down. And then she picks up the second one and opens it, and it's empty again. And she closes it and puts it down. And then the guy says, "Are they okay?" And she goes, "Yep, they're okay." And then the guy says, "Would you lend him your DVDs again?" And she goes, "Sure, I would lend them again." So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe she'd actually be willing to lend the DVDs again after they were returned empty. Wow, she's really a generous person.
When the videos were finished, again the magnet was pressed into Kim's scalp. For 30 minutes, there was its sharp metal click, beating in her ear.
Okay, now we watch the same video again. So she walks up, they say hi. She opens the first video, it's empty. She's angry. She slams it down. She opens the second one, she's angry. She slams it down. He says to her, "Are they okay?" And she says in a very sarcastic tone of voice, "Yes, they're okay." He asks, "Would you lend them again?" And she says in a very sarcastic tone of voice, "Sure, I would lend them again," clearly meaning no way would I lend this guy any videos again. Wow. Everything that was intended in this went completely over my head, and now I saw it. The body expression, the facial expression, and the tone of voice in that whole interaction completely missed the meaning of the whole thing until after the TMS, and then I saw the whole thing clearly. This is what life could be like.
What do you mean when you say this is what life could be like?
I could actually understand conversation. I could understand people rather than be completely oblivious to all of the social signals that are flying around. Wouldn't that be nice?
Really?
Yeah. It's so hard to have misunderstandings with people.
Because TMS is so short-lived, Kim's ability to see this way only lasted for a very little while. By the time she drove home, it was gone. And I want to be very clear here and underline, TMS is not currently approved for autism spectrum disorders, and Dr. Oberman says people particularly children, should steer clear of it at this point because as treatment, it is totally unproven.